Well, appreciate you coming on and
Yeah,
talking with us. We've been all day kind of talking to people. We started this year focusing a little bit more on content.
great.
We've been reselling liquidation primarily for the last 15 years, and at a point where I'd like to spend some more time creating content to help some other people avoid some of the mistakes that we made early on. And then also talk to different people. There's so many different ways people are making money in this industry. You came across my feed. I don't know if you commented on one of my posts or I saw you just pop up randomly, but I saw what you were doing with the food. So I was really interested to get to talk to you and kind of see more of what you're doing because
Yeah.
you're doing salvage food and you're doing it out of, I think, 1,000 square feet. Is
Yep.
that right? So you have a small space. You're moving. It looks like you're moving a lot of stuff in a really small space. So give me the rundown of what you're doing so I can understand.
So it all goes back to last year. I thought I was getting laid off. I actually have background as a data engineer, data scientist, and so there's a lot of familiarity of building systems and also lean startup. And so, what can I do to bootstrap something that I'm very familiar with? Well, turns out that I know grocery, I know food. There's so many aspects to it. And so what happened was that I've been working with a salvage store. Now, granted, the town is 50 minutes away from me, and they had introduced, like, the owners were in the business, but like the way they did things was very antiquated. So I said, let me go ahead and see what I can do to create something just in case, because I'm going to go all in. It's now or never. And I still have a day job now, but I found this 1,000 square foot place. And then it evolved to receiving truckloads, like food pallets, LTL, and trying to work with like what I had. I think with the first 3 months, I outgrew that. So the problem instantly became, how do I receive more if I don't have all that space? So it's been quite the challenge because signed a 3-year lease on this. But at the end of the day, we passed our 1 year mark, and more people are finding out. Just for the first time today, I've tried trying courier service. We will be working with DoorDash so that I can actually start moving into perishables. So it's very interesting because we are online only. I do not have a storefront. It's also all delivery at this point.
Uh,
No people.
You're delivering all of this. So you're
Yes.
how do people find out about you if you're no storefront? You're delivering it all, so it's all local.
Uh,
So how does it work? So I found you. You have a list of your food online. I place the order and you send somebody to us. Like if I was obviously local.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Okay.
that's how it works right now. And so I think for me, it's become a pain point. And as always, one thing I've learned when creating a startup, and so the interesting thing about my store, however, before I go further, is that it's actually EHC free. And so I like to remind people that just because it has a nonprofit status legally does not mean that I don't run it like a business. You have to run nonprofits like businesses. They do have business goals. It's just that with our profits, they are reinvested in a different way. And frankly, it helps us support summer programs and other initiatives that normally either don't get the funding or we just can't wait for someone to hand us a big check. I've never been that kind of person. And so, yeah, for me, it's just a matter of we do the deliveries and we've been very careful. And the way that I had a good start to this was I've been always known as a food lady. Had brand equity with my neighbors and neighborhood, and we have no salvage store. It closed down in 2020 in the Austin area. So combined with those factors, and also slowly growing, because you grow too big, you will fail. Too big, too fast can definitely fail. That's something that it's to help me maintain and grow, get through some of the growing pains, which that's kind of what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
we could be known for more, but I am purposefully being very intentional about that.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of times people automatically assume bigger space, bigger business. But if you don't know how to manage a small space really well, you're not going to manage a big space any better. It's just more space for more stuff to go wrong and more crap piles to kind of pile up is what I tell people. Like we've gone from 1,000 square feet, we've had up to 200,000 square feet. I prefer working in like 10,000 or less. It just forces you to be more organized. It just forces you to be on your game more so than the bigger square footage. At least for our business, we're more in the liquidation space, and inventory tends to pile up on us if we have too much space for it. So yeah, I think it's super cool you're doing all that out of 1,000 square feet. How many pallets or truckloads are you getting a week right now?
So I would say at first it started like maybe every like pallets. I would say last year it was about, half. I want to say like maybe half of the truckload, like every couple of months, just because like it's me working it. And this is something that I always tell people. So why this velocity picked up is because finding the right product mix and knowing your customers and what they'll pay for is super key. And I think too, as you go through and discover what that means, I mean, you might have an idea of what the market wants, but at the end of the day, right? Like if you have a supplier and you get things that are medium, they're okay, but they don't necessarily do what you need to, then it kind of slows down like what you're able to give to the customers. And so a couple of things that make my approach very unique, especially with when it comes to receiving. So right, back to the truckloads, it was half, but that's because I was starting out trying to find what is the right product mix. So I know that there's also always a lot of discussion about banana box foods and Amazon food loads. I discovered and learned a lot about those and know my expectations of what I personally will pay for and what I think is just absolutely outright ridiculous, knowing, and understanding what they are. But right, everyone has those different thresholds. So, what I may think is great may not work for somebody else that may have a lot more space. And then also just the treasure hunt. People, for my customers, they will literally stalk my page because the way that I upload, like I can certainly do bulk uploads because I have Shopify, but they understand it's like, okay, so I have like, this Tim Hortons thing. I'm going to upload it, but what else is she going to upload next? And that's kind of what Amazon does is that element of surprise. And frankly, it's more affordable than like the pallet, a box of banana boxes. Those are a lot more inaccessible. So one day I might get there and they oftentimes have a good staple of what have you. But now as I found the right product mix, I actually found a liquidator, but unfortunately, so I'm in Texas and one would think with Texas, I find like better options close by. Not so much. They're coming out of Florida, and it's been very great, high quality. People like the pet food, people like the medicine, and the supplements. And so, yeah, it's a matter of now I'm getting ready to do every 1 to 2 weeks, 4 pallets at a time, but we're just vastly rotating because people want those treasures, a treasure
Yeah.
hunt.
So you're sticking with mainly the Amazon salvage or the Amazon grocery. How are your customers like sticklers on the date? Are you keeping stuff that's only in date? Are you selling stuff that's out of date? I don't know the rules in Texas, Georgia, they don't care. Only on pet food. We can't sell out of date pet food. We can sell out of date people food. That's okay. But we've always kind of like some people don't care. I don't care if it tastes good, then I'm gonna eat it. But some people, second that date, turns, they're not buying that.
No, yeah, I think it's ridiculous in the sense of that people need to understand that there is a food waste issue we have. So another thing too is because I'm in the Austin area, we have a very good, strong sense of, and granted, this is just the neighborhoods and a lot of the communities that are very into zero waste. So this is a kind of customer I also have. So we talk about carbon footprint, we talk about food waste, we also talk about environmental responsibility because frankly, when we take foods that are, let's say, this Tim Hortons thing that I showed, right, like just a few minutes ago, it expired best by date was June 10th, 2026. You have FDA dates and other dates that show and demonstrate that these tastes are good up until this point. Frankly, we keep on throwing away everything like that's non-perishable, that is still fine. We're going to run into problems. And this is also the same thing with sodas, or I call it pop, but for everyone else, sodas. Uh, Now I do have to get rid of the flat stuff because there's no great good in drinking that. But other than that, it's a lot of education. But to that end too, like that's what salvage stores oftentimes are about is that and so in Texas, I legally can resell that because I inspect and I go through the products and I essentially, when I get that license, it's a waiver that says you are okay in this product. Now, of course, I welcome feedback. There are things we do get wrong and miss and dates, but we try to make it as clear as possible. And then I will taste test like products if I need to. I shop at Whole Foods myself, so a lot of the stuff I personally don't eat, but I know everyone else does so, or they have families that do. And it's part of the overall plan in terms of what I want to do with mobile grocery. We have a social impact mindset. So if I weren't a C3, we'd probably be a social impact slash corp B Corp, because we do know that there's a social responsibility, and there's certainly, I think, that's a unique angle to it. And It's not just so you can buy my stuff. It's also because frankly there is a waste issue.
Yeah, no, we I think that maybe that was the post that we kinda crossed paths on. I talk about that a lot, how much waste there is. We've done it for 15 years, and I think about all the stuff that we've gotten in over the how many thousands of truckloads that we moved, and, as much of as I'd like to think that we've moved, we're a small, small portion of all of the product just that comes back. We deal with this stuff like you. This was the unwanted stuff from the retailers. This isn't the stuff that went out to the public buying it at retail. This is stuff that came back. It got closed date, didn't work. We're only seeing a small portion of all of the goods, and we're seeing the consumer. We deal grocery, but we do a lot of consumer goods. We're seeing all of that, and it's small. It's just disgusting how much waste we produce in our country. And we're seeing such a small portion of it, and to just imagine how much more is out there is just mind blowing to me. And it's not like anybody's producing better quality goods. It seems like the goods are consistently trending like in poorer quality, so it has to be replaced more often. But you think I think liquidation gets kind of a bad rap sometimes. We're like the bottom of the barrel, people like reselling the goods, but in reality, we're the last people in line before the stuff goes to a landfill, and we're not stopping it. We're delaying it 'cause it's gonna wind up there anyway. Um,
I
but we're doing a service I don't think it's recognized anywhere. It's very few people promote it that way because I think, like you said, I don't wanna sound like we're doing good. It's not like our first thought. It wasn't that we're doing good, it's
yeah.
a byproduct of it, but someone has to, otherwise it will go straight to landfill. And same with the grocery. There's so many people going hungry, and this food's not bad. Like,
No.
I've had popcorn that's 2 years old that I ate until it was 3 if at 3 years old, it was finally starting to get a little stale, I was like, "I'm done." So with the salvage I get a lot of people I see a lot of people on Facebook that are buying the grocery loads. What's something that it sounds like you dealt with a couple suppliers before you found the one that you landed on. What were some of the struggles that you were dealing with in the beginning, I guess, from some people before you found, like, kinda who you ended up with? What's some, like, stuff that was giving you problems in the trucks?
I think a lot of it was so, I mean, other than the capital issue, because I literally am bootstrapping and or so, like, to remind folks, I still work during the day at my day job. Haven't quit that and won't, because that'll allow me to do several other things at low, no cost. But two, it was just like there was a load and that I had bought through a broker, and this is like because I was way too excited, and I had realized thinking about it, I was like, now I'm like, why did I double pay for free? Like, this is a load of crap if it's coming from the same place. And this person, I gave feedback on that, and, like, they were trying to be all whatever on a terse with me, and it's like, well, I don't wanna curse them out because I will. I'm from Southside Chicago, I don't play, but also, like, I made that mistake, but also this person sucks, so I'm gonna be honest. I had found and I know that Amazon can be notorious depending on where it comes out of. I started learning about that, and so, like, I had found things that were, like, from 2020, like, 2020, peanut butter powder. I was like, "I'm not going to serve that. That's go straight into the trash. Like, this is not great." And so it for me, I had met the supplier, so I actually went to wholesale and things. I have friends in Louisville, so that's also what motivated me. And I know that I'm not a very typical, whole like, I would say liquidation person, if you will. So I just was like, let me go and see. And it just got to the point where I learned about what my people liked, the products, the high quality esque, and like what brands, what they were willing to do, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I've learned a lot of the lessons along the way, and now we're here, and just also keeping channels open just in case that there are other opportunities that make sense for me.
No, for sure. There's a lot of talk on a lot of the Facebook groups about the brokers. There's a place for
Hmm.
brokers. Or we tell people all the time, the best brokers that are educators. They're willing to teach you what the product is. They
Yeah,
got to know
yeah.
what the product is, and a lot of guys, will slap their fee on it and just post it, and they're just
Mhm.
whatever they can find. They don't learn what they're selling, and at the end of the day, it hurts them because who they're selling to won't buy from them again. It doesn't
Right.
take too much effort on the broker's part. Probably what was 20 COVID to 2020, 2022. We that's where our business model kinda went was
Yeah.
brokering. I think it was our best, like, our highest grossing year was about we did $25 million gross with brokering trucks. the
Mhm.
margins are slim, big number, small profit, and it's hard to understand every load that you're selling, but
Right.
that's where problems come from is I don't, I'm not vetting the supplier well enough to know, okay, well, where's that grocery coming from? This year there was a big problem. A couple friends of mine got big into the Amazon contracts, whatever. They're getting hit with a ton of food. I want to say like back in March, but the
Oh,
food
wow.
was it wasn't supposed to be food. It's supposed to be general merchandise, or it's
Mhm.
raw, a little bit of food in there.
Yeah.
The dating was just atrocious. 2022
Wow.
and prior, and it wasn't the processor's fault. It was direct. I mean, these are direct from Amazon, Savannah, Georgia. So like, it was an Amazon problem. But
Mhm.
what happens with that food after? It gets put back into the market because the processors aren't willing to take the loss. And then people like you wind up with it because all that the brokers are able to say is it's out of date food. They don't see the dates on the food because they're not asking for the dates on the food. And so you wind up with stuff that's, well past what's reasonable to be resold. Are you doing mostly like the mixed gaylords of food? I see the Diet Coke back. So I didn't know if you were focused mainly on, like, case pack or mm,
Yeah. Case pack actually doesn't do well for me at all, because it's boring for people, and so the Coke, though, this is what's interesting is that so this was sent to me for free, and this is where I'm just combing through things, and I just saw, like so I live my complex so I don't actually, the way that this warehouse is set up, there's little shops, if you will, and I just saw, like, the landlord drive around, I was like, "Look," I'm like, "I told them I had this dumpster out here, like, what else am I gonna do with this flat stuff?" Like, that's just it was free, so but the other stuff is pretty good, and as y'all know, like, soda is getting really expensive, so we do that, like, if I can find drinks, that's great, and then, the mixed gaylords are fun because that becomes a treasure hunt for people, and it's like, "What is Mina gonna do next?" And it's like, "Let me check every day." Yeah.
okay. I was just curious, is like, we get a lot of, so we just did a big pet food deal. We did, it was 12,000 bags of dog food.
Wow.
But it's a distributor down in Florida, and basically, I mean, it's a lot of product, like, it's high runs of specific things,
Oh, yeah.
but all 6 months in date, and the pricing's competitive. I think we were at, like, 28% when we sold the food or the dog food,
Mhm.
but all new, 6
Yeah.
months. So I was just curious, is like I don't do a ton of food. We don't bring it in. We broker some deals like that one. And I was just curious, 'cause I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it'd be a whole lot easier if we had like 20 different items that they could just pick from, and then I'm pulling out of cases. But I get your point. The bigger the variety, especially just starting off, I imagine, like the better the
Yeah.
variety, the better chance you have of moving through all of it. You never know.
Mhm.
What do you find you have, like, a core group of customers? Like, you have all the repetitive customers, or you bring on new customers daily, you're excited so that
Yeah, I think, like, the biggest thing is it goes back to, the brand equity I had with these folks, that they followed me and have been with me for 4 years. So, like, I have a secret group of where in my neighborhood, I give away food on my porch. I've been doing this since 2021. I clean up, I do all the things necessary, fought my HOA and won, because I know what it takes to just do the not only do the right thing, but I'm like, "Ah, you won't mess with me." And so that grew into a group that just I would give away things and there's folks that are like, "Look, we would love a discount option. We don't have that anymore." And so I put that in this test group saying, "Hey, would you all like X, Y, and Z?" And I think like that's something that not everybody who's starting a business has, that brand equity, that security and saying, "Okay, maybe if I go out and try this." Like if I did that without it, I don't know that I would be as successful and as far. And now people are like, "Whoa, these prices are crazy." But then it's also knowing what it does, like "Oh, you're helping fund programs." I'm like, "Yeah," because 1, federal contracts are cut, and I'm not those are difficult anyway to manage, but 2, it's also knowing that this is something I've built over the years, and this is just another product, if you will. Like, this isn't the only thing we do, but it's something that, like, these customers return, it's a great time, I discount things, sometimes I'll still get away on my porch if, like, I have too much of something and I'm like, "Just get it out." Like, for example, I'm trying to get rid of, vinegar, so I'm like, "10 cents, 10 cents." They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, get it out." And boy, are they getting it out. So it's been really fascinating, to do all that and continue to give and, grow along with the families that I've seen come to my front step, since 2021.
oh, that's really cool. So you mentioned it's a 501(c)(3), right? So you're funding other programs with so what Explain that to me. What are you funding from this?
Yeah, so we have a summer, well, not just a summer feeding program, but we have a charitable feeding program. And so here's what's interesting, right? Like we have the nonprofit store, and we're not the first, nor will we be the last like nonprofit grocery store. But what that does is that it allows us to really support like a back to school program, a rural healthcare like initiatives and wellness program. So I'm actually out of among all the things I'm doing. I'm going back to school to become a registered dietitian because legally then in the state of Texas and depending elsewhere on how the licensure process goes, I would be able to prescribe and legally guide people in a way that your doctor will not, because frankly, people do not know, but your primary care physician does not have nutrition training. I would, and that's what we're going through to add another level of specialty to it and value. So these are things that build up and say, like, we're not just about like getting you cheaper prices and doing that, but also creating this culture of wellness. But hey, these are some cool things, and I teach people a lot about like why is XYZ or what's wrong with this, or just having fun so that folks can really see and open their eyes more to what they may have seen, because there's always this assumption that everything goes through the donation stream. And I'm like, no, there's millions of pounds that will never touch that, especially more
Yeah.
than now. Companies want to have cash in hand because they need that to keep on operating, especially as things are getting more tough and lean. So it's a really fascinating process, but a lot of it really is helpful in terms of providing, especially mutual aid funds that can be more discreet in terms of how we give and whatever else. And that is something that's great because I think at the end of the day, people like to be a part of something. That's another bit that I always tell folks when it comes to business is just people like to feel a part of something.
Yeah, people like to feel like they're doing good with their everyday purchases. That's really important. Have you because you have a 501(c)(3), have you reached out to Goods 360 or anybody like that for product?
Yeah, but you can't sell it. That's their terms. They say you can't resell it. That's what they say. That's what they
Yeah,
said on the website.
that's what they said
So
on the
I
website.
would
And I wonder, I only ask because, like, I've got a lot of people that we know that have also the 501(c)(3), and they've had the discussions with Goods 360, and it's like, "How do you want us to move it if we don't sell it to fund the people, the staff to work it?" And so I don't know that I don't know, I was just curious. I don't know how hard they crack down on those people for selling. I mean, these people have the nonprofits, they're doing like, they're putting the money back into the programs that they're promoting, but they have to create funds from somewhere. Like, money doesn't just come from 0,
Right.
so I wasn't sure if you'd reached out, or if you, 'cause I don't know how hard they crack down and check on, are you reselling it? Obviously, the most important thing is putting the profits back into the business or back into the programs, but
Yeah, I haven't, and I think, like, I'll look into that now that you mention it, but I think the first thing is I not saying that I'm always a rule follower, but I'm always like, "Oh, okay, well, da 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 da." I look at the terms and conditions because, I mean, you see, like, Bath& and Body Works, you see, like, actual Skims, right? So we always see those posts online that's like, "Here's Bath& and Body Works, here's Skims," and it's like, no, if you know anything about how the supply chain works and, like, where people can get that exclusivity, it's like, no, no, no. A lot of that stuff can be very scammy, and so I just am like, I haven't thought about it, but also, like, to that end, it just depends on, like, what do I have time and space for? I know I've told people we want to expand to GM. There's certain GM items we do, but it's also, like, especially when it gets to apparel, because that's also something before I did anything engineering or tech-wise, clothing buying is actually something that I was very good at and understood to a T.
okay. So you wanna do so what kinda GM would you be looking like? More like bathroom type supplies, or like, I get how the apparel might work with the food. We're trying to help as
Mhm.
so you're wanting to help people. I see the apparel. What are you trying to as far as GM goes, what are you trying to do with the general merchandise?
Essentials is good. If I can figure it out and like grow space or something or have more space, like any kind of appliances, like there's just, but it depends. I'm always about running lean. I don't want to just get things just because I can. So I would just, I do a lot of just, I would do some sort of testing to understand what my customer base, and I have a secret feedback group and it's great. Like I'm going to post in there after this, like, hey guys, I have a lot of drinks. Like do we want to run some sales? And of course they're like, hell yeah. And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I think a lot of it is essentials is the next. That's actually, other than, food is one of the most expensive things too. So it's whatever we can do to get that. And then any other random items per se, that's the fun stuff that if somebody wants it, it'll add value to a cart.
Yeah. Oh, so with your food, have you, obviously the Amazon's great. I think the Amazon's pretty consistent. There's a lot of people that have it. Do you do any kind of reach out to so we source I do closeouts. I do mostly I work with brands that are going out of business typically. I mean, that's what we do a lot of high volume single SKU products. So like if someone tries to go to market with an item, it doesn't work out, we have a lead generation that they come to us, we make them an offer, we buy it, and so on and so forth. What I find when we do that, and I don't go after food specifically, just not my market. I don't have a huge customer base for it. So we have a pretty standard offer, which is we will remove it for no cost to you. We don't offer cash. We don't care if it's, super in date, a nice brand, it's different. Like if you called me up with goldfish that's a year in date, I can put a value to that. I have a
Yeah.
buyer for goldfish. But an off-brand, mix of 3 SKUs that goes out of date in 3 months, we say, "Nope, sorry, we'll remove it, we'll pay the shipping to get it out of your way, but we won't actually offer you cash." And you'd be surprised how many people are like, "Thank God," 'cause other it's going in the dumpster, they're gonna dispose of it. That's the word we say we waive our disposal fee. I don't have a disposal,
Mhm.
but they're so excited when they find out, like, there's an option that doesn't cost them any money to get rid of it. So just something to think about, non-traditional ways to liquidate, like the Amazon, it sounds like it's perfect because 'cause you're wanting the variety, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff I feel like I have a friend he's in Florida, and
Mhm.
he's got a salvage discount grocery store that buys from him, but the customer that buys from him works with local grocery stores in the area and takes their close dated or outdated, shelf items at no cost.
Interesting, because that is, because I've also do the charitable giving part, and I know that side of it. I'm surprised they don't work with the food banks on that one, but there's 2 sides to that. There's you can get the taxation benefit, or there's just a lot, like, of technicalities, and this is what I was talking at, like, a food systems conference, like, 2 weeks ago. I said, "You all need to learn about liquidation in the food space because what we're talking about food system-wise, you have no." I was telling people, it's like, "Y'all have no idea that there's an entirely different side, like, that person in Florida that deals in that way, or you folks that move like how y'all do, and like that is something that we ought to understand so then we can be more ready to accept deals and or saying, hey, this is what we'll pay for because that's what we aim to fund. So it's interesting. I do hope to at least get to that. I think the first thing would be getting a website. Yep, 5 years to no website. Built the plane as we were flying. She is flying. We are not Spirit Airlines, yay, but we are also getting to where we can be more stable. So I think once I can do that, I have gotten bin stores to go and like saying, "Hey, what are you doing with that? I'll buy it off of you," you know? Or actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of HEB, but HEB, there was a 3PL who's like, "Oh, I have all this stuff," like, they'll randomly text me about things they don't know what to do with, and I'm like, "I'll do it," and then I'll learn to negotiate prices because 'cause I'm like, nope, you're not gonna tell me what to pay for or what not to," so that I'll with it.
No, 100%. Like, there's a lot of avenues out there besides just traditional liquidation. And your point, about I guess, the more professional industry, I like to call it, like, the corporate world we're liquidating for, we move so much faster than corporate. And I think
Mhm.
it's a huge thing that people don't realize, like, that's why some stuff winds up in liquidation is because I can make a decision in 30 minutes, I can pay you in another 30 minutes, and I can pick it up the next day
Yeah.
versus, traditional, like, corporate America, we deal with those people, and they're nice people, and they're great, they're brutal. "I gotta get this
Uh,
approval." 2 weeks later, "We accept your proposal." What will like, meanwhile,
yeah.
we worked 20 deals, and I have no idea what we proposed, but cool, we accept. Yeah, I think they gotta figure out either how to work faster or work with us because we move it. Like it's picked up, gone, and by the time some of these people make decisions, food is, you couldn't do perishables. We can't liquid.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because everybody moves too slowly. I think we could. I think our industry could handle it. I don't think the corporate people could handle us moving it as fast as
No.
they don't expect it. So I
Oh,
think
absolutely not,
it'd be
yeah.
interesting to talk to more people like that because we do move a lot faster. I think
Mhm.
provide services that a lot of people can't.
Absolutely, absolutely. Depend and that's, like, the fun of the supply chain, like, I tell people, when folks ask, like, "How did you know?" And I'm like, "Well, when I switched" so I switched from, oh, I was going to go to law school. It's like, no, my teacher's like, you're actually really good at logic, but you don't need to go to law school for that. Like, you can do this or that instead. So, just data science, like, there's the same applications there, but part of that we had to take an operations like class, night class, and this person, interesting, teaching a class, but it kind of reminded me and gave me more insight as to like just that part of it. And clearly that stuck with me to where I used what I learned um, from my previous professional roles to what I do now. And then especially when it comes to anything with the food, like just food and supply chain and distribution. So I think to as we boil it down and as I make it what it is, for me, I think other than being specializing my products, my various product lines, it's a matter of like this is who we are, this is how we do it, and we're moving leaner and faster. We innovate or you'll be stagnant. And so I think that's been the most fun of this.
Yeah, no, I think liquidation will teach you very quickly how to pivot quickly, and if you don't adapt, you will not make it very long. Because by the time you really, hone in on a product line, that product line will change like that. We've had it happen more often than not where we're super excited about some product coming in, and then it's gone. After
Yeah.
we develop systems, around and that's we've pivoted multiple times over the last 15 years. We were very heavy in the traditional liquidation for a long period of time, especially the Amazon, the Walmart, and everything.
Mhm.
We were big when COVID I don't know if you were around, when
Yeah.
COVID hit for, Target. Target
Mhm.
had in the port in Georgia, and
Oh, yeah.
they had more product that because they had already ordered, right? They couldn't foresee COVID, so they'd had their product coming, and they had already ordered more, so they had no room to store the product at the port. They were liquidating it, like, cheaply
Mhm.
and at very high volume, and so we wound up with about 40 container loads a week of Target case pack that had not been sorted yet. So imagine Dyson vacuums, Ninja air fryers for, a third of the price the loads are today. But that
Yeah.
changed 6 months after, that's done, it's dried up, we built out systems and processes for all that stuff, and it's just a trend where as, you get something really good, it typically
Mm.
goes someone else has realized it as well, and, either someone's willing to pay a higher price for it or the retailers find a better way to process it themselves. Um,
Right.
there's always gonna be food, so that's the
Yeah.
positive. There's always gonna be food and that has a date, so it's always gonna
Yeah.
be move out. And I don't think anybody's found a great way to streamline the process of the food.
No. And I
Uh,
think it's, like, really interesting, like, when I go to these conferences, like, or see discussions, I think people like, I see folks who are like, "Oh, grocery's so easy," and I'm like, "Oh, you wish. It is the thinnest margins ever," and people are fickle, and also, if people think that they can get away with selling food without the proper licensure, and maybe your area doesn't need certain things, but I'm like, "No, somebody can come in there and tell the health department, and they can ruin your day." Like, do you wanna deal with that? They are the grumpiest people ever. Like, it to me food is always existent, drinks are always existent, but also, like, do you know what it takes or what the supplements are or, like, what does it work with? And, what if all of a sudden people just hate coffee? Or what's one product? Or they're always asking X, Y, and Z or sourcing and this and that, and I find it so fascinating too when I talk to people and say, "Oh, I can buy outdated food." They're like, "What?" Because I think they always hear folks say they want end date, which is fair, and I'm fine, and I get why, but I'm like, "I can buy this. That's how I got this truckload of pop." Like, I just had to pay shipping from Florida.
People that do the best solve the hardest problems. And I think that's one thing we do really well is I've given up trying to find the cool stuff to buy, the easy stuff to buy. I
Yeah,
want no one else wants because if I can solve the harder problems, that's where we make the best money. And the same goes for the food. If you can, anybody who sells food can sell in date food. That's not like that's fine. It's whatever. But you have better margins on the outdated food. It's a problem that's harder to solve. And I think you'll find more opportunities if you can continue with the outdated food versus being stuck with the end date. There's nothing wrong with goldfish that are
yeah,
they're still listen, I
yeah,
smash the goldfish, like, that's my thing. Well, cool. Well, I mean, I really appreciate it. I think we covered I had a list of questions for you that I was super interested in how you're doing all of that in 1,000
yeah.
I am curious who are you using to courier? You said DoorDash is new, right? You're on DoorDash now or you're working on
No,
DoorDash?
so DoorDash, I'm working with them. They actually have a grant program, so of course we would have to pay, and this is where I tell people, I'm like, y'all want your DoorDash, it's not gonna be free because like my
Yeah.
delivery right now is free. I said, yeah, and it comes with some, caveats, like it's not always on time or whatever. But so I tried like send packs, just to move some things that I just got delayed on. But as far as that goes, I'm DoorDash is much more. They have a product that is very integrated or more familiar with nonprofits and food banks. Except we would not be doing the charitable food delivery side. We would just be like, hey, um, this would allow us to move perishable. So that bumps that up from 2-year wait to 6 months, which is I think amazing because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm only one person. I know my limits.
So do you do the delivery yourself? Or you have
Sometimes
go ahead.
volunteers. I said
Okay.
sometimes I do volunteers. I just do them before work, during. I mean, it's a lot, but I think too, as we continue to solve the issue, we'll figure out like ways to offload that. I did apply for like a 3-year grant because I have a free van. I'm doing mobile groceries, so like this is another thing. Like these are more fun things because
Yeah.
for me, the more specialized I become, the better and long lasting my product is. I mean, we're not so specialized that it's like so unique it can't be replicated, but like what makes me different from like the shop down in Houston that sells this thing or vice versa? I mean, we already do online orders. I see people shopping at my stuff like at 2:30 a.m. scrolling. Like, cool. Great. Like what more can we do, So we have that aspect and I think there will be more opportunity. So hopefully and I talk to people not just in a nonprofit space, but elsewhere. Like they're becoming more fascinated with like how this is able to reach people. And I'm really excited about like just the perishable portion because at least I know that's even more disturbing in terms of waste and just how much is rejected just because of like a packaging issue or a miscount on commodities or something like that. So much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, because apparently even, like, if it's ugly fruit and stuff, like, that doesn't go to the mainstream grocery stores, that gets removed, which is wild to me. I don't care if my apple's ugly, like, as long as it
Yeah.
tastes and,
Or the
um
bananas, too ugly to sell. I remember one day someone told me that. And, like, someone will ask, "What makes you different from Misfit and, like, Thrive?" And I said, "We sell unhealthy shit."
okay. So,
There.
doesn't everybody you wanna are you able to take, like, EBT and stuff like that, or are
Not
you
yet.
that
Not
those
yet. And
words?
I'll tell you yeah, it's a process, and we will. I'm kinda glad we held on that because with the recent changes, here's another thing that frustrates me to no end. I mean, I will keep it to this. There is a process where you have to get an FNS number, forget what that stands for, but that's what it's called, and then you can go through your state health office to do just that, but those processes take a while, and so the issue is that if I would have to be, and rightfully so, but and thankfully I'm a smaller retailer, but the problem is, like, you would have to have enough cash flow because this doesn't come right away, it's like a month after. So, like, I would have to make sure that I'm stable enough to do that. And 2, these recent changes make it so that if you, don't do it right, where you're not if you take out EBT for something that's not supposed to be, oh, you get fined up the yeah. So we just I'm like, I don't know that I have the capacity to deal with it, but also like frankly, the government moves slowly just with everything when it comes to those applications. So that is another time. I think too there will be another initiative where we do, especially with our mobile markets, because it'll be the same thing. Those salvage groceries are coming.
Yeah.
We won't just be doing the wholesale stuff from Whole Foods like some of our friends at Sustainable Food Center do. That's an organization in Austin. I'll do everything and then some, but then once we're able to take that and WIC, we can definitely expand. So yeah, just a long list.
A lot of, like, red tape to go through.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I've been doing this all day. I've been talking to different people, and I have not talked to anybody in a category that I'm, like, super familiar with today. So it's
Mhm.
been really interesting and unique, and you have not been an exception. It's been extremely interesting to get to talk to you about your operation because I talk to people that do food. I've not yet talked to a nonprofit that does food the way you do. So
Mhm.
I always tell people there's a million ways to make money, and it's always cool to me how unique people get, when they do it.